I just want to mention that Patrick did an outstanding job in his interview, and we had 11 members of this school community on the interview committee. And I can say at the end of the day, they unanimously supported Patrick's candidacy and felt that he would do a tremendous job in that role and move this district forward. So I really do look forward to working with Patrick as we come up with some new and innovative initiatives for the
Now,
North
are we going to
Reading
give John another
Right, now-
vice principal or what?
Well, that's a very good question, because I did have a meeting with John, because a real significant priority of mine is for the middle school to be ready for opening day.
Right.
And not to leave John high and dry in terms of support. So Patrick's going to be a little schizophrenic at the beginning of his new job. He will be officially on the duty as of August 9th, and that we had projected that in our timeline. But he'll be splitting some of his time with the middle school and doing some of the prep work, although they're in very good shape. It's more about when students arrive on September 7th, making sure that John has the support that he needs for bus duty and in the cafeteria, all of those times where student management is very important. And Patrick has agreed to be able to continue to fulfill his responsibilities so that the middle school is a safe and orderly environment.
Now, for a longer term, and I don't mean longer term, but say November, December, do you have a plan to permanently fill that position? Is that what you're going to do? You're going to?
Yes, Mr. Fauché and I have spoken, and we are ready to post the position for assistant principal at the middle school. And he set forth a timeline. He's thinking about who will be on the interview committee. There will be a full process, so we are advertising on School Spring as well as internally. And we will be conducting a full search. And hopefully have that filled by, did we set a date?
Well, you have your fingers crossed that maybe you might have someone beginning of school, but again, depending on who the candidate is and their responsibilities to another school district, you're probably looking at mid-September, maybe even as late as October 1st, if you know.
Will we have difficulty finding candidates because of the timing, or?
It will be a challenge.
Yeah.
It will be a challenge, but in the past, I have hired highly qualified candidates for teaching positions in October. So sometimes there are circumstances that arise that allow us to access some highly qualified candidates, but it will be challenging. And it will depend. We're going to take a look at the pool of candidates that do apply. We talked about the timeline for applications. And as we review those applications, if we're not satisfied, we would extend the timeline. And then if we're still not satisfied, we'll go to Plan B and make some provisions for maybe a temporary placement in that role, and then maybe go out and try to advertise again at another time. But we're going to see what we can do at this particular time of the school year.
So that'll be posted right away?
Right away.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Congratulations,
Congratulations,
Patrick.
This time next year, you'll be a superintendent someplace, so we'll be looking to replace. Not here, not here, not here. Someplace
Someone
else.
hit him.
Someplace else.
Even that, no.
No, I know. We've got
No.
our team. We're getting our team in place
Yeah.
here now, right?
Right, we're getting our team in
Right.
place. Another transition.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the official reason John and Patrick are here, though, is to present the handbook for 2010-11. I just want to recall that last year when John came in with the handbook, I think we were all pleased with the changes you made in terms of the tone that you changed in the handbook to make it kind of a more positive, welcoming, and I don't know, somewhat a document that might inspire the kids to do well in school. And you know, from everything I've heard, things have worked well with the handbook. So I'm sure these changes are going to be just as great as last year's were.
Yeah, I would have to certainly give Mr. Daly a lot of credit. I mean, you're right. We did a lot of work formatting. We're trying to get some kid-friendly language in there to describe some very difficult and complicated policies. Mr. Daly did an awesome job this year, as you can well imagine, carrying out the handbook and the rules and working with student management. Good news that he's going to be in the curriculum office. The middle school can always use a strong supporter there, but again, in the assistant principal's office, it'll be tough shoes to fill, but we'll do the best we can. Again, just to kind of historically, you know, we did revamp the handbook last year quite a bit, and we kind of broke it down into some basic information, getting started, you know, the simplified information that students really need to know. There's an academic section, and then we get into our discipline code, and then of course the last part of the book is dedicated to school committee policy. The changes that we're recommending to our handbook actually fall into mostly that getting started aspect of our handbook, and then some in our discipline code, just to kind of tweak some language there. But again, philosophically, we're really looking to try to make this as user-friendly as we possibly can. Certainly would like to, again, commend Mr. Daly and his committee, Mrs. Carmody, Mrs. Condon, Mrs. Driscoll, Mr. Maloney, Mrs. Wall, and Mrs. Weiss for their work in reviewing the handbook in May and bringing forward some suggested changes, which we outlined in simplified version for you. And I would say right away, on probably no more significant a change to our handbook is actually a revamping of our school mission statement. This was the work that was started through our School Improvement Council, the School Council, and we worked with the faculty. Early on in first semester, many multiple drafts, trying to make it simple, trying to make it, again, easily understood. So we are looking to incorporate the new middle school mission statement into our handbook, and I'd like to read it. The mission of the North Reading Middle School is to create a safe, supportive, and challenging academic environment for all students to develop the knowledge, skills, and attitudes necessary for success in a rapidly changing world. And we were looking at incorporating language that we can measure. So when you create a safe, what do you mean by safe? How is it safe? When we talk about a supportive environment, how do you measure that? When we talk about challenging academic environment, what are the indicators that our academic environment is challenging? And again, when you look at knowledge, skills, and attitudes, I think we can begin to, as a faculty, delineate indicators to those kind of things. So we're looking for the mission statement to really come alive. We see it posted in the rooms. We see a lot of those terms delineated out so that the students can actually see and make connections to our mission statement. So that was really the philosophy behind the changing of the middle school mission statement.
John, since that we're making a drastic change and that it's a brand new statement, just want to, I like it. Does the rest of the committee have any issues with it? I think it's great. It's straightforward.
I like it too.
Says exactly what we're trying to do here. And
every word has some meaning.
Right. And measurable.
Beautiful statement.
As you said, measurable.
Right.
So I think that's great.
Thank you. Very simple change to the homework club. Again, last school year, we were able to come up with some additional funding, which allowed us to have our homework club 3 days a week. It's a great program. So that's just a simple change of the days. Tidiness to school. You see the original language. What we're trying to do here in our new language is very simply, when we talk about administrative disciplinary action, we're trying to bring some clarity to that. So we were just simply thinking of including some language that says that you will be assigning office detention when you have accumulated multiple tardies, just to make it clear to the learner.
Anybody have any issues with that?
I got nothing to say.
Wow.
Now, the subject of bullying, again, this is in our discipline code, getting started. It's kind of kid-friendly language. I know that the committee in the district will be doing a lot of work with the actual bullying policy based on the legislation that's recently come out. But we thought it was appropriate to, at least in our handbook, to reference the cyberbullying, specifically the texting, creating false websites, disseminating of electronic information that could be, in fact, hurtful to students. We just wanted to put some language into our list, our long list of things that we consider bullying. Again, at the middle school level, the policy reads kind of cumbersome for students, but when you start listing out all the different things that could be construed as bullying, we wanted to make sure that we added some language in there around texting, electronic communication, cyberbullying. At the same token, Patrick, again, is really very much involved with this, helping us to revamp our procedures for documenting when a complaint comes forward. He's already drafted a couple of forms that we're going to begin to try to use within the middle school. We've actually presented them to the other administrators in the district to look at that. So again, language here that all students, parents, or teachers who come forward with any reports of suspected bullying will work with administration to complete the bullying procedure forms, again, in draft form at this point. We're trying to test some things out to immediately address these concerns. And again, all this language based on Patrick's research on the new legislation and all the information that we're getting now, you're going to see a lot of this.
I was going to ask Kathy. My one concern is if we approve this policy and then we get the guidelines from whoever, BSE or whoever's sending the guidelines to us, and they're different from what we have here.
Again,
They will be different.
we're not changing school committee policies. School committee policies in the last section, clearly you've defined what bullying is.
Right.
This is really information that we've gleaned out of policy and best practices, and it falls into our discipline code. It's not necessarily,
Okay.
we're not trying to set policy for
Okay.
the committee of the district.
Okay.
But we thought, again, that when we are working with students and we start talking about bullying, and we say, when you're texting or you're creating that webpage, you are really participating in bullying. We don't delineate that in our handbook very well, so we wanted to make sure that we clarified that, that's all.
I guess the other question I have is in terms of the forms, is that something that has to be approved by the school committee? I'm trying to.
Well, this is a very good interim step.
Okay.
I can tell you that today, the administrators, all of the building level principals came together with me, and for my purpose, we started to chart out what are all of the steps that this district has taken up to this point regarding anti-bullying, from the policy that was created by the school committee to programs that have been implemented in each of the schools to some of the procedural kinds of activities that take place when a complaint is filed. Because what this district is going to be required to do is to develop a comprehensive district-wide plan and submit it to the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education by December 31st.
Okay.
So we will be bringing that plan to you.
Okay.
And what it will do, it really operationalizes the policy that you've already put into place. But one of the steps that we're going to take is to take a look at that policy and compare it to legislation to make sure that all of the elements that are required now under the law have been addressed by the school committee policy.
DESE was going to come up with a model.
Yes.
Have they done that yet?
No.
They're overdue.
Yes.
Way overdue.
Yes.
So I've kind of held off on trying to introduce that until they come back with something.
Yes.
And I've talked with other districts about that. I attended a seminar in Gloucester back a couple of months ago, specifically around that with an expert on bullying.
They're supposed to be coming out with a sample policy, a sample plan, and sample investigation procedures that districts can use as a potential template. None of that has been posted yet. We did look at the website today. There are a couple of evidence-based educational programs that are being recommended, but only at the elementary level, so it's not as comprehensive. They did say that these kinds of references would be posted to the website during the summer, but as of yet, not to the degree that we were hoping in order to shape the work that's being done. We're moving ahead with this work because it needs to get done, and we will be bringing it to you for your review and approval. But in the meantime, what John and Patrick are suggesting are very good parameters to help students understand what the policy means in a classroom, in the hallways, in all of those places in a school, what will and will not be tolerated.
Well, I think it just says these are behaviors, examples of behaviors that might constitute bullying. So we're not saying these are bullying, and we're just listing all of the possible.
Right.
So I think that's fine. And I do think it's great moving ahead with the forms, because we're going to have to do that anyway. We're going to have to record every and any complaint that does come in. So I think moving ahead on that.
And as they said, they're going to use this as a pilot, and we're going to be talking about those forms and maybe incorporating them into the plan, because the plan will require that forms are included, because the procedure is going to have to be completely spelled out.
Okay.
I do have some suggestions about some of the language in here, because I'm writing my dissertation on bullying, so I find this very fascinating. You did an excellent job and probably could have written the legislation a whole lot better than it's presented.